For this exercise, I want to show you a cool trick using the erasers. Start by drawing a nice big box, and we're going to draw the horizon line about 2/3 the way up in that box. We're going to shade all of that in using the side of your pencil. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to blend it all together with the tissue when we get done. Now that all of that's shaded in with our HB pencil, we're going to shade in the lower half with a 4B. And if you don't have these exact pencils, just grab something similar in size. If you don't have a 4B but you have a 6B, go ahead and use that, or a 2B. Anything close. All right. Now that we have both areas shaded in, we're going to grab some tissue and we're going to blend it, just smooth it out. Do the top portion first, try not to mix them. And then once that's all blended, we'll do the lower section. It doesn't have to be super smooth or super even. It's nature, and nothing in nature is perfect. Or I guess you could say everything in nature is perfect. Either way, the little imperfections in your shading could be leaves on the ground, or it could be a hill, or shadows, things like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Something like that is what you should have. I do want to define this horizon line a little bit more, though. And it's okay if it goes up like that. That's just a little hill. Okay, now we're going to grab our H pencil and we're going to start adding some trees in this forest. And when I draw these lines, I don't necessarily want them to go perfectly straight up. We'll draw them at angles and do it very lightly. You just want to see just the impression of a tree. And we're not going to do a ton of them. These are just going to be the trees on the horizon. And because they're so far back in the distance, they're going to be really light, almost like there's fog. You can't see them. I'll try to space them kind of randomly. You don't want them all lined up with exact spacing from tree to tree. They look like they were planted that way or something, and we want it to look like this is natural scene out in the forest. We'll add a couple more over here. Maybe one more over here. Okay, now with a clean blending stump, let's blend that together. Let's just smooth it out a little bit. And that'll also darken it just a little bit, but we don't want it too dark. Grab your B pencil. We're going to add a couple more trees. Now lower beneath that horizon line. We don't want it. We want it just a little bit darker than those other trees we already drew. Keep in mind, when you use that blending stump to smear this and smudge it, this line is the shading is going to get darker. Let's bring this one down a little bit further. And we're going to add a few of these. I'm going to curve it. I'm going to make it curve a little bit. We'll add another one over here. Okay, now blend that together with your blending stump so it doesn't look so grainy. You don't necessarily need a real sharp line on these either, because if they're off in the distance, they might be a little bit blurry. Okay, you can see how this is starting to put together different layers of the of depth to help show distance. Now grab your kneaded eraser and mold it into a little point. And we're going to start adding a path just by erasing it. So I'm going to say it's coming from way over here, off in the distance. Have it kind of fade so you can't see it over here. And it's going to be brighter the more it comes towards the foreground. And we'll have it turn. And turn again right around here. Now, here's a trick. Here's a really cool trick. Make sure you kind of have a sharp edge on that kneaded eraser. Right around here, I'm going to divide this into two. And make that line in the center wider and wider as I get closer to the bottom of the paper. So now that'll start to look, it'll start to look like a track, like tires, or a wagon if it was if it was a really old scene from the back in the day. You want it thicker here on the bottom to show a little perspective, and we'll get into perspective and all those fun details later on in the course. But right now I just wanted to show you this little cool trick for erasing. So now we're going to add a few more trees and a little more detail. Let's grab a 2B pencil, and right here we're going to put a nice big tree. Going all the way to the top. And it should be a little bit thicker on the bottom, or all the way through the tree, because it's closer to the front of the image. It's in the foreground. And let's see, do we want another one? Let's put another one right here. We'll have it going right over that path. We'll grab our blending stump and we'll smudge all of that to smooth it out a little. Do both of those trees. And you can see it's starting to create a really cool kind of misty forest with a lot of depth to it. Grab your kneaded eraser again and make your nice little point. And we're going to start erasing some more highlights right here in the center. This will make it look like there's a opening in the canopy of the forest where some light is coming in. And you want it to kind of blend down to the bottom. You don't want it too bright. But we're just going to do this right in the center, like maybe that's where the sun is. I want to touch up this path. I'm going to widen it a little bit over here. Lighten it just a little bit, like it's going off into the distance. Now we're going to add a little bit more detail. Grab your 2B pencil and just on the top part of the path, we're going to darken it just a little bit. Don't darken this side. It'll be, this side would be lighter. Now do the same thing over here on the bottom part of the path, and you would do it on this line as well. And right here on this side, right to about here. So if you want to, now you can grab a little small blending stump and kind of smudge that back and forth. And you can have little bits go into that white part of the road to make it look like it's got a little vegetation that grows in there. So it's not perfect. Do that on this side too. Just a couple little spots where it comes into the road. Over here you won't see it much because it's too far off in the distance. But we're going to blend that a little anyway, so it makes it so you can see that shadow where it's curving down. Now with one of these fine tip erasers, we're going to erase even more and kind of cut into the edge here. So it makes it look like grass. And do it this way as well. Almost like there's little chunks of grass missing where it's not growing because there's been too much traffic on that part of the path. Maybe put a little spot in the middle too. Do some more over here too. By doing this, it gives the hill that the path is leaning against. Gives it a little more dimension. You wouldn't see it cut into the top of the hill here. Because of the angle here. But we will give it a little bit of a highlight. Now on this side you would see it. So we'll cut into that hillside just a little bit here and there. This makes the path look a little more realistic and at the same time creates some rolling hills that you wouldn't have noticed. Okay, now go back to your 6B pencil. We're going to add a little bit more shading to the hill to make it stand out a little bit. Just on this side where the light's not hitting it. Just on the tip of the hill, or the edge of the path. And we could add a few little dark spots here and there on the center of the path. Maybe we missed a couple spots. Now you have the beginning of a really cool looking forest with a path running through it. But it looks a little bare, so I'm going to add a few more trees. I'm going to get a 4B or a similar pencil. And remember, it's going to be darker the closer it is to the foreground. I'm going to add another one right here. We'll add a couple more over here too. We'll do one more, maybe right on the edge of the page. Going all the way to the edge. This will help frame it as well. Now that we've got all of our trees in there, we can start adding some detail by just erasing some little highlights here and there. Very lightly with the contour of the hill. And it'll start to give it a little more depth and make it look like there's rolling hills. I like to use a real sharp eraser for this. It's creating more depth and creating the look of these hills. Maybe there's another one. They don't have to go all the way down to the bottom. And you can see the angle I'm drawing for this side of the hill to make it look like it's kind of tilting up. We could do the same thing, but the opposite direction over here. And it'll make the hills look like they're rolling in the other direction, like they're coming down, almost like a river with that path in the center. Now, if you wanted, you could go and darken some of those trees in the background a little bit more. Make them stand out a little bit more. If you wanted, you could add a little bit of a shadow underneath the trees, all going in the same direction. And the shadow on this side will kind of be going at an angle because it's going up a hill. But we want them really soft. We don't want them very dark. Now I'm going to erase a little bit more here in the center. Kind of varying the height right here. This kind of creates the top of the canopy and the look of some bushes down here at the bottom. We'll have it a little bit lighter as it gets out towards the edge. If you wanted, you could erase just little spots where the sun might be coming through. Okay, now hopefully yours looks something like this and you've learned a little bit more about the erasers. Sometimes your erasers can be more important and create more detail than your pencils themselves.